r/askreddit. What is your default thought? When you are bored, what is the first thing you tend to fantasize about? Fantasize. That's a funny way to spell worry. Usually 330 milliliters, but you can also find it in cans 335 milliliters. I have a whole fake life with its own plot that I just add scenarios to. Me too. I'm mentally dating someone that doesn't know I exist. Actually, he doesn't exist either. I just make up the perfect scenarios and I always say or do the perfect thing. So very far from reality. Same. How long does this scenario last? Does it continue in real time? Mine has been going along for 2 months now and it's not stopping anytime soon. Of course I have side daydreams that I simulate when I'm bored, but I've been putting all my energy into my main one. Usually having various superpowers and coming up with little scenarios in my head. Like I'm a bystander in a bank robbery, but little do these guys know, I can manipulate gravity. Stick out my hands and the robbers just collapse to slop on the floor, crushed under their own weight as I multiply gravity by 15,000 times right where they're standing. Or another fun daydream, I wake up and I'm a kid again, but with all the memories and knowledge I've gained throughout my adult life. Someone's been playing a little too much Sigma lately. Echoes Acto 3 freeze. Whoa. Just, thank you, was wondering if I was a freak or a mental case for occasionally still doing this, the former, superpower example, as an adult. Because it's not like anyone talks about it. Suddenly feel a lot less shit about myself. I sometimes think I should write a book cause my superpower story has been really refined over the years. Mostly boobs, I guess. We are simple men. I write songs in my head. Unfortunately, I can't play any instruments, so I have all these lyrics and melodies and nothing I can do with them. Perhaps you could ask a friend or commission someone to help you with that. I'm sure something great could come out of it. Plenty you can do with them. Write the lyrics down. Grab a quick free voice recorder app or something and hum the melodies. Grab a free digital audio workstation, like GarageBand, or a free light demo version of something like Live, Digital Performer, Pro Tools, Cubase, etc. Take some time, use YouTube videos and learn how to record a MIDI line. GarageBand is probably the easiest of all the doors. Then just move the MIDI notes around until you have the right notes. Then fool with the melody rhythm. Eventually buy a decent $100 300 mic and decent interface for $100 $300, depending on your price range and tastes, and start recording some vocals as you'll learn about recording vocals. You don't have to be able to play the instrument if you can figure out how to use a digital piano roll. Not super difficult to begin with, and there are a lot of videos and subreddits out there to help. It'll take some time, but if you're up for it, it'll be really fun and you can start getting the stuff out of your head. I think of something embarrassing I did in the past and then make up a song about how stupid I am. This made me laugh out loud. I'm currently stuck on the first step, but the second step seems fun. I am a fucking idiot. I really am. I went to get the milk out, and instead I'm holding ham. I make weird noises to try and alleviate the anxiety of embarrassment. Your way seems more cute, quirky and less weird crazy. How would someone from 300 years ago react to an iPhone? I was just talking about this with my mom. Like how Abraham Lincoln would react to how the US is now, or how someone would react to a rocket going to space. They'd hang you for witchcraft. I think about this too, but not quite the same. I think about how someone like the CEO of Nvidia would react to seeing a Titan RTX or a Quadro GV100 when they just started the company. I imagine someone from the past somehow coming forward to our own time and reacting to everything around. It would blow their minds. Sometimes when I'm bored, I'll Google bars and restaurants in other countries, look at their menus, and try to decide what I would get if I was there. I find it enjoyable and relaxing, and who knows, maybe one day I'll actually be able to eat at one of these places. Sometimes when I'm bored I use Street View in another country out of curiosity about how things look. Sometimes I'll go on Zillow and look at apartments in New York City. Winning the lottery. And deciding with whom I will share it, and whom I will not. I always like to imagine building my own house, paying tuition, and then paying off my mom's debt, and then helping my close friends with money if they need it, and then investing in my hometown. Dragons. Username checks out. Are dragons fucking-cause? I fantasize about fucking California's earthquake fault line. The dirt, the debris, the thought of the earth quivering under me as I slowly stick my dick into its gaping wide entrance. I keep looking at news stories and getting the firmest erections of my life seeing those beautiful cracks. She's so open and so wanting. Each earthquake is like another whimper just begging for me to take her. The amount of cum I've lost just thinking about thrusting my rod into our beloved planet. Talk about getting my rocks off. Fuck, I'm hard. Sir, this is a Wendy's. It would have cost you $0 to not say that. You must take your wife for granted. Edit. My puns have reached rock bottom. You could probably do this. There's spots where the Cascadia fault is at the surface and visible. I talk to myself. Is it like a conversation or more just a monologue? When I talk to myself, it's usually just me saying everything I'm thinking out loud and reacting to it. Kinda helps you think about your own feelings a bit differently, although it's hard to say why. I have arguments with someone else, where my mind tries to be that someone else and argue as best as possible. It's quite effective. Either fapping or flying. What a sincere man you are. Why not both? Being a musician. It's never too late. Eating. Same. No disorder or anything. I just eat when I'm bored. I'm just suddenly hungry because I'm bored. Existential dread. Like what is the meaning of life type shit. After going over this topic a lot in my head, I came to a sorta conclusion. There isn't a meaning in life other than to go through each day and die one day. No one is born to do anything and everyone ends up dead one way or another. Life is kinda pointless, so I guess thinking about it is also pointless. I wondered about it all when I was just starting high school, depressed. Now I'm going into G12, not depressed, and stopped thinking about it all too much and just started fantasizing about what my life could be when I grow up and get a real job and stuff. I do think about death, what comes after, all the time, and think I won't be sad when it comes the time to go, because I'll find out, I hope. I've set many goals for what I want to in my life. I usually think about that now rather than the meaning of life. I just accept it because of how mind-boggling it is to think that anything is here at all. Sex? It's literally what I think about falling to sleep at night, LMAO. Same. I'm really impressed with all these people who fantasize about the novel they're writing or their 5-year plan. I wonder what sort of things my brain would be up to if I wasn't so horny all the time. Maybe I'd actually be productive. My future? Like my little 10-year plan. Also, I fantasize about people talking behind my back. Saying nice things usually. Sometimes saying not so nice things, but rarely. Sex? Quite a lot. Imagine some sex I'd like to have. Or remember some sex I have had. Think about how nice it was. Get a little high from the thought. Look at MR. Attractive over here who had sex. Finding my soulmate. I used to daydream about this. I had met a boy when I was in kindergarten and was convinced he was my soulmate, but he had moved away and I knew his first name, but not his last name. So every day I dream up scenarios of how I'd meet him. Would he be in my coffee shop, and we'd look up and just know? Or will I find him on my trip to Japan? As he moved to Japan, I recall his dad was in the military. I didn't realize how much this was my default. How this maybe today will be the day got me out of my shell, out of my house. I'm not even making this up, but a few years ago our askreddit asked who is your white whale. I told my story. A redditor told me he was a pie and if I gave him a little more information he'd find him for me. He did. In 25 minutes. And it crushed my soul. My soulmate was still good looking. He was still kind. And he was married and absolutely devoted to his autistic child. Reality came crashing down. And I fell into a depression realizing he wasn't the one for me. That I wouldn't have a magical moment bumping into him and having a wonderful life together. I stopped having good realistic daydreams after that. I stopped dreaming about love. While I don't feel depressed in everything else, I do realize that I've stopped being as adventurous or leaving my house as much. A part of me just wonders what's the point, I guess. I think about my future, about the fact that I will be alone for the entire life. It's important to remember that you don't need anyone to complete you. You have the time and ability to be selfish now. Go out and do things up enjoy doing because you're not having to plan anything around someone else. Put yourself first and just enjoy your own company. It'll feel weird at first, but it gets better, and it's also a great way to make new friends. If you live in a city, there's usually stuff on meetup.com. I used to when I first moved to London and was terrifyingly lonely, and not only did it help me make friends, but I got over my fear of going to events alone. Okay. I'm dreaming of a story from my own world I've created long ago when I was a child. I'm dreaming of a story and the plot, the characters. And I'm not enough self-confident to write down that shit and publish it. Yeah, same. I mean, the details of the word continue to shift. It's not a single coherent story, but there's a constantly changing world I imagine, with characters and a rough plot and etc. Dungeons and Dragons. I DM a weekly game for my friends that's been going on for over 2 years now, and whenever I space out, my mind always goes to D&D first. Open Reddit. Close Reddit. Open Reddit. Slow down, buddy. We're getting too real over here. Open Reddit on computer. Browse for a bit. Open Reddit on phone. Realize how fucking stupid I am. Being the main character in my own world I've made up in my head. It sounds dumb, but when people fail me and everything is going wrong, I imagine myself there and completing goals I always dreamed of. It keeps me striving for a better version of myself. What if I had magic? Oh yeah, it's isekai time. Book characters and fictional worlds I wish I could live in. Same. I rewrite storylines in my head with me in them sometimes, and then I have ethical conflicts about whether or not I should interfere and change the story, or if that would make everything worse. Like, what happens if you save Black Widow? Then it turns into a nightmare what if scenario where it's actually a TV show, and everyone is just acting, except me who is acting like an idiot and thinks it's all real. And even though I would rather think about the original fantasy, I can't help exploring the embarrassing TV version because of don't think of a pink elephant logic. Edit. OMG, my first silver. TY anonymous redditor. I will include you in my silly daydreams. When all hope was gone, there came a hero. Nobody knew where they came from, or who they were, because they were anonymous. The book I'm writing. Just remember, there's no such thing as too many metaphors in a sex scene. My characters lol, they really are a part of me. I like to imagine alternate storylines for my favorite books or movies. The plot depends on my mood, like if I'm sad, I'll think up depressing stories that have happy endings. When I'm lonely, I'll think about a character that is also lonely, but imagine how people around them notice and support them. I'm too embarrassed about this habit to talk about it, but I was very excited when I found out about fanfiction and realize other people do this too. I hate writing, so I keep my thoughts to myself though. I've always wanted to make a video game. I'll often have ideas, and when I'm bored I think about features or characters or gameplay modes for whatever terrible game idea I had at the time. Being murdered, being cheated on, my house burning down, something terrible happening to someone I love. When I realize I'm having shitty thoughts though, I think about a celestial fox calming me down and taking those anxieties away and protecting me. It's a silly little thing to make myself feel better. I just learned the term for that the other day. It's called catastrophizing. Apparently it's an anxiety coping mechanism or some such thing. I revisit how many things I've done wrong until I feel emotionally numb enough to keep going without breaking down. I've talked about this before, but I often think about how the world would be if humans had big puffy tails like squirrels, because I find it hilarious. I could see people styling their tails to stand out, teenagers rebelling against their parents by dyeing their tail some crazy color. IT's not a phase mom. Tabloids would be reporting things like Miley Cyrus shaves off her tail. Exclusive photos inside people on dating apps and websites would be listing their tail length as a new stat like they do now with height. I don't know, I just think it's funny to think about a world like that, and it amuses me to think about it when I'm bored. A threesome with Bear Grylls and Christian Bale.